The scars we carry aren't always visible. Sometimes they're etched into our souls, convincing us we're unworthy of love. But what if the very thing you believe makes you unlovable becomes the reason someone chooses to stay? If this story touches your heart, please hit that like button and subscribe for more content that reminds us all what real love looks like. Emma's hands trembled as she gripped the edge of her shirt. The evening air was cool against her skin, but it wasn't the chill that made her shiver. It was fear, raw and familiar, the kind that had kept her isolated for the past 3 years. "I need to show you something," she said, her voice barely audible over the gentle lapping of lake water against the dock where they sat. "Before this goes any further." Michael watched her with patient eyes. Those same kind eyes that had first caught her attention 6 weeks ago at his daughter's school recital, where Emma worked as a music teacher. He'd asked her out for coffee after the 3rd time they'd bumped into each other, his 7-year-old daughter Lily skipping circles around them while he stumbled through an invitation. Those coffee dates had turned into dinners, then movie nights at his place after Lily went to bed. She'd fallen for his gentle laugh, the way he listened so intently when she spoke, how his entire face lit up when he talked about Lily. But Michael didn't know everything. Nobody did. "You don't have to show me anything you're not ready for," Michael said gently, reaching for her hand. Emma pulled away. "No. I do. Because this, us, it can't go anywhere if you don't know." Taking a deep breath, Emma slowly lifted the edge of her shirt, revealing a jagged, discolored scar that ran from just below her ribcage across her abdomen, disappearing beneath the waistband of her jeans. It was wide in some places, puckered in others, the aftermath of a surgery that had saved her life while taking something precious. "No one will ever love me," she whispered, tears spilling down her cheeks as she exposed her deepest vulnerability. "Not like this. Not knowing what this means." Michael's expression didn't change. No disgust. No pity. Just the same warm gaze that made her feel seen in a way she hadn't in years. "I'm staying right here," he said simply, taking her hand and placing it against his heart. "Right here." The car accident 3 years ago had taken more than just her smooth skin. It had robbed Emma of her chance to ever carry a child. The emergency surgery that saved her life had left her with a hysterectomy at 28 and a road map of scars that reminded her daily of what she'd lost. Dating had seemed pointless after that. What man would want a woman who couldn't give him children? Especially someone like Michael, who clearly loved being a father. "You don't understand," Emma continued, pulling her shirt back down. "I can't have children, Michael. The accident, they had to remove everything. And you're already such an amazing dad. You deserve someone who can give Lily siblings, who can." "Emma," Michael interrupted softly, "I need you to hear me. I'm not looking for someone to give Lily siblings. I'm looking for someone who makes her smile the way you do when you help her practice piano. I'm looking for someone who sees me, really sees me, not just as Lily's dad, but as Michael. And that person is you." The moonlight reflected off the lake behind them, casting everything in a silver glow. In the distance, the lights from the small lakeside town twinkled like earthbound stars. They'd come here for the weekend, their first trip together. Lily was staying with Michael's parents, excited about her dad's special friend coming along to the family cabin. "But what about the future?" Emma pressed. "What about?" "The future isn't guaranteed for anyone," Michael said, his voice taking on a depth she hadn't heard before. 3 years ago, my wife walked out the door and never came back. She decided that being a mother, being my partner, wasn't the life she wanted after all. Lily was 4, asking for mommy every night for months. Emma knew bits of Michael's story, but he rarely spoke about his ex-wife in detail. "Life doesn't give us guarantees, Emma. All we can do is recognize what matters when it's right in front of us." He reached out, this time taking her hand firmly in his. "And you matter to me. Scars, history, all of it." Emma wanted to believe him. But years of self-doubt and isolation had built walls not easily dismantled by kind words on a moonlit dock. "You say that now," she whispered. "But someday you might regret it." Michael shook his head, a sad smile playing at his lips. "That's the thing about being left behind, Emma. You learn pretty quickly what's worth holding on to. And I'm telling you, I'm not letting go. Not unless you ask me to." The vulnerability in his eyes matched her own, and for the first time, Emma considered that perhaps Michael's scars, though invisible, ran just as deep as hers. Back at the cabin, Emma sat on the porch swing while Michael built a fire inside. Through the window, she could see him arranging logs in the stone fireplace, his movements methodical and sure. She'd been quiet on the walk back from the dock, processing his words, wondering if she dared believe them. The cabin was small but beautiful, rustic pine walls adorned with family photos spanning decades. Earlier that day, Michael had shown her around, pointing out where he'd carved his initials as a boy, where Lily had taken her first steps, where generations of his family had gathered to create memories. Emma felt like an intruder in this space filled with history and belonging, something she'd had precious little of in her own life. Orphaned young and raised by a distant aunt, Emma had spent most of her adult life creating a surrogate family through her students and music. The accident had only deepened her isolation. The screen door creaked as Michael stepped onto the porch, 2 steaming mugs in hand. "Hot chocolate," he said, offering one to her. "With cinnamon, the way you like it." The small gesture, that he remembered such a minor detail from one of their cafe dates, brought fresh tears to Emma's eyes. "Why are you so nice to me?" she asked, the question slipping out before she could stop it. Michael settled beside her on the swing, his weight causing it to sway gently. "That's a strange question," he said. "Why wouldn't I be?" "Because I'm damaged goods," Emma replied, hating the self-pity in her voice but unable to keep it at bay. "Because loving me means complications." Michael was quiet for a moment, blowing on his hot chocolate. "You know what Lily asked me last week? She wanted to know if you were going to be her new mommy." Emma's breath caught. "What did you tell her?" "I told her that I didn't know, but that you were someone very special to both of us." He turned to face her. "And that's the truth, Emma. You are special. Not just to me, but to Lily too. She talks about you constantly, how you taught her that song on the piano, how you braided her hair, how you know all the Disney princess names in alphabetical order." Despite everything, Emma smiled at that. She and Lily had spent an afternoon creating a princess ranking system that had somehow evolved into an alphabetical listing. "She lost her mother," Emma said softly. "She deserves someone whole." Michael set his mug down with a decisive clink. "Stop that. Stop talking about yourself like you're somehow less than complete. Emma, you're more whole, more genuine than anyone I've ever met. The way you pour yourself into your music, into teaching, into every conversation we have, that's not someone who's incomplete. That's someone who knows the value of what they have to give." His words washed over her like a warm tide, challenging the narrative she'd been telling herself for years. When Sarah left, Michael continued, referring to his ex-wife, "She told me she felt unfinished, like she had more living to do before being tied down to a family. For a long time, I blamed myself, thinking I hadn't been enough. That Lily and I hadn't been enough." Emma reached for his hand instinctively. "But I realized eventually that some people will never feel complete, no matter what they have. And others can find wholeness even when parts of them are broken or missing." He squeezed her fingers. "You've been through hell, Emma. But you haven't let it harden you. That's rare. And it's why I'm falling in love with you." The words hung in the cool night air. Love. Such a small word for something so immense. Emma had convinced herself it wasn't for her, not anymore. And yet here was this man, this kind, steadfast man, offering it freely. "I'm scared," she admitted. "Me too," Michael replied with a soft laugh. "Terrified, actually. Really? You don't seem it. That's just my poker face, he said, smiling. Inside, I'm a mess. Every time you smile at me, I worry that this is too good to last. Every time Lily gets excited about seeing you, I worry that somehow I'm setting her up for another heartbreak. Emma hadn't considered that Michael might harbor fears of his own. In her mind, he had always seemed so confident, so assured. But then I think, he continued, what if it works? What if this is the beginning of something amazing? Isn't that worth the risk? The fire crackled inside the cabin, casting a warm glow through the windows. Above them, stars peppered the clear night sky, countless points of light against infinite darkness. Emma thought about all the events, all the choices and chances that had brought them to this moment, her taking the teaching job, Michael enrolling Lily in piano lessons, the series of coincidences that had led to their first conversation. When I was recovering from the accident, Emma said slowly, my physical therapist told me something I've never forgotten. She said that healing isn't about returning to what you were before, it's about growing into something new. Michael nodded, his eyes never leaving her face. I've been so focused on what I lost, Emma continued, that I haven't allowed myself to see what might still be possible. The swing rocked gently beneath them as a breeze stirred the trees. In the distance, an owl called out, its haunting cry echoing across the lake. I can't promise you a perfect future, Emma, Michael said. I can't promise that we won't face challenges or heartache. But I can promise you this, I will never make you feel less than worthy. I will never see your scars as anything other than proof of your strength. And I will never, ever walk away when things get difficult. Emma took a deep, shuddering breath. That sounds suspiciously like a vow, Mr. Sullivan. A smile spread across Michael's face, reaching all the way to his eyes. Maybe it is, Ms. Reed. Maybe it is. The following morning dawned bright and clear. Emma woke to the sound of birds outside the cabin window and the smell of coffee brewing. She'd slept in the small guest room, Michael taking the couch despite her protests. She found him on the porch, hair rumpled from sleep, watching the sunrise over the lake. Morning, she said, voice still rough with sleep. He turned, his face brightening at the sight of her. Morning. Coffee's ready if you want some. They stood side by side, watching as the golden light of dawn spread across the water. After last night's conversation, something had shifted between them, a new understanding, a deeper connection. I should have brought Lily, Michael said suddenly. She loves mornings here. Says the lake looks like it's covered in diamonds when the sun hits it just right. She's poetic, Emma replied with a smile. Must get that from her dad. Michael laughed. Hardly. I'm the least poetic person you'll meet. Lily got her creativity all on her own. He paused. She'd love to come back here with you sometime. If you'd want that. The casual invitation, to return, to be part of future family memories, sent a rush of warmth through Emma. I'd like that very much. Michael's phone buzzed in his pocket. He pulled it out, grinning at the screen. Speak of the devil. It's my mom. Lily wants to FaceTime. He answered, and immediately Lily's face filled the screen, her dark curls wild around her face and her smile missing a front tooth, a recent development she was immensely proud of. Daddy. Grandma made pancakes with blueberry faces, she announced without preamble. Then, spotting Emma beside her father, her eyes widened. Miss Emma. Are you having fun at the lake? Did you see any fish? Did Daddy show you the big rock we jump off of? Emma laughed, moving closer to be properly in frame. Good morning, Lily. I am having fun, but we haven't seen any fish yet. And your dad mentioned the jumping rock, but we haven't visited it yet. You have to. It's the best part. Lily insisted, her face suddenly serious with the gravity of this oversight. Daddy, you have to take Miss Emma to the jumping rock today. Promise? I promise, Lillipad, Michael said solemnly. How's Grandma and Grandpa's house? Are you being good? So good. Grandpa's taking me fishing later. Lily's attention shifted abruptly, as it often did with 7-year-olds. Miss Emma, when you come back, can we have a piano lesson at the cabin? Grandma has an old piano here that sounds all funny, but Daddy says there's one at the cabin too. The casual assumption that Emma would be returning, would be part of future trips, caught her off guard. She glanced at Michael, who gave her a small, encouraging nod. I'd love that, Lily, Emma replied, and was rewarded with a beaming smile that showcased the girl's missing tooth perfectly. Awesome. Daddy, can Miss Emma stay for dinner when we get back tomorrow? I want to show her my new book about dolphins. Michael's expression softened. We'll see, Lillipad. Miss Emma might have other plans. Actually, Emma heard herself saying, I'd love to see your dolphin book, Lily. Dinner sounds wonderful. The look of pure joy on Lily's face was matched only by the quiet gratitude in Michael's eyes. After a few more minutes of chatter, during which Lily detailed the precise characteristics of each of her grandparents' 5 cats, they said goodbye with promises to call again that evening. As Michael tucked his phone away, he turned to Emma with a bemused expression. Sorry about that. Lily can be a bit assuming. Don't apologize, Emma said. She's wonderful. She likes you, Michael replied simply. A lot. And she doesn't warm up to everyone that way. Emma felt a surge of affection for the little girl with the missing tooth and boundless enthusiasm. The feeling is mutual. So, Michael said, draining the last of his coffee, shall we visit this famous jumping rock before breakfast? It really is pretty spectacular. Emma nodded, grateful for the shift to lighter territory. Lead the way. The path to the jumping rock wound through pine woods dappled with morning sunlight. Birds called to one another overhead, and occasionally a squirrel darted across their path. Michael pointed out landmarks as they walked, a particularly twisted tree that had been struck by lightning years ago, a clearing where deer often gathered at dusk, the remains of a fort he'd built with his brother as a child. My parents bought this place when I was 10, he explained as they walked. Every summer, every holiday we could manage, we came here. It became more home than our actual house in the city. Is that why you brought Lily here? To continue the tradition? Michael nodded. Partly that. But also because after Sarah left, I needed someplace that felt safe. Familiar. This place had always been my refuge. I wanted it to be Lily's too. The honesty in his voice touched Emma deeply. She was beginning to understand that Michael's strength wasn't about never feeling pain, it was about moving forward despite it. Here we are, he announced as they emerged from the trees onto a rocky outcropping that jutted over the deepest part of the lake. Lily's favorite place in the world. Emma approached the edge cautiously. The rock rose about 15 feet above the water, high enough to be thrilling but not so high as to be dangerous. The lake stretched out before them, mirror smooth in the early morning stillness. It's beautiful, she said, taking in the panoramic view of forests and mountains beyond. In the summer, Lily jumps off this at least 20 times a day, Michael said with a laugh. She's fearless. Like her father? Michael shook his head. No. I worry about everything. Always have. Lily got her courage from, well, I'm not sure where, but not from me. Emma studied him. I think you're braver than you give yourself credit for. How do you figure? You raised a child on your own. You kept going after your wife left. And... She hesitated, then pushed forward, you're here with me, despite knowing that our path might not be the easiest one. Michael's expression grew serious. Easy is overrated. Worth it, that's what matters. He paused, seeming to consider his next words carefully. Last night, you showed me your scar, your vulnerability. Maybe it's time I showed you mine. He sat down on the rock, patting the space beside him. Emma joined him, their feet dangling over the edge. Sarah didn't just leave, Michael began, his gaze fixed on the distant shoreline. She had an affair with my best friend. 4 months. Right under my nose. Emma's hand found his instinctively. I didn't see it coming. Not even a little bit. One day, I came home early from work to surprise her for her birthday. Instead, I found them together in our bed. The bed where we'd conceived Lily. The pain in his voice was old but still present, like an injury that had healed but still ached in cold weather. She told me she'd never really loved me. That she'd felt trapped from the moment Lily was born. That she'd been settling all along. His jaw tightened at the memory. Do you know what the worst part was? Not the betrayal. Not even the lies. It was that for months afterward, I believed her. I thought there must be something fundamentally unlovable about me. Emma squeezed his hand, recognizing the echo of her own thoughts in his words. What changed? She asked softly. Michael turned to look at her, his eyes clear despite the painful memories. Lily. One night, maybe 6 months after Sarah left, I was tucking Lily in. She looked up at me with those big brown eyes and said, "Daddy, you're the best daddy in the whole universe." Just like that. And I realized, if this perfect little person could love me that completely, then maybe I wasn't the problem after all. He smiled, the genuine kind that reached his eyes and crinkled the corners. That's why your scars don't scare me, Emma. We all have them. Some are just more visible than others. They sat in comfortable silence for a few moments, watching a pair of loons glide across the water below. So, Emma said eventually, nudging his shoulder with hers. Are we going to just admire the view, or are we going to jump? Michael's eyebrows shot up. Now? We're not exactly dressed for swimming. Emma kicked off her shoes. We'll dry in the sun. Unless you're scared? A slow grin spread across Michael's face. Ms. Reed, are you challenging me? Maybe I am, Mr. Sullivan. Emma stood, extending her hand to him. What do you say? Shall we take a leap of faith? Michael looked at her offered hand, then at the water below, then back at her face, her eyes bright with a newfound courage that reflected his own. Together, he asked, rising to stand beside her. Emma nodded, her heart racing with an exhilarating mixture of fear and anticipation. Together. Their hands clasped firmly, they counted down from 3, and jumped, suspended for one perfect moment between sky and water before plunging into the cool depths below. 6 months later, Emma stood in Michael's kitchen, their kitchen now, arranging cupcakes on a platter. Through the window, she could see Michael and Lily in the backyard, hanging streamers from the old oak tree. Lily's 8th birthday party was set to begin in less than an hour, and the house hummed with anticipation. Emma had moved in 2 months ago, after Michael proposed on Christmas Eve with a simple sapphire ring and a promise of a future built on trust and understanding. Lily had been ecstatic, immediately claiming Emma as her bonus mom, a term she'd coined herself after deciding that stepmom sounded too fairy tale evil. The transition hadn't been without challenges. Emma still had moments of doubt, days when her scars, both physical and emotional, seemed to throb with remembered pain. There had been difficult conversations with Michael's parents, who worried about another woman entering Lily's life only to potentially leave. There had been practical complications of combining 2 households, of establishing new routines, of finding her place in a family that had functioned as a duo for so long. But there had also been joy, unexpected, abundant joy. Lily's piano recitals, where she now proudly announced Emma as her bonus mom and teacher. Sunday morning pancake breakfasts, where Lily insisted on adding food coloring to create the most garish breakfast creations imaginable. Quiet evenings with Michael after Lily was asleep, talking about everything and nothing, planning their summer wedding, dreaming about their future. The doorbell rang, interrupting Emma's thoughts. She wiped her hands on a kitchen towel and went to answer it, finding Michael's parents on the doorstep, arms laden with wrapped gifts. Emma, dear, Michael's mother, Patricia, greeted her warmly. The house looks wonderful. You've worked miracles with the place. It was true. Emma's touch was evident throughout the once bachelor home, colorful throw pillows on the couch, framed sheet music on the walls, potted herbs lining the kitchen windowsill. Just a few feminine touches, Emma said with a smile, helping Patricia with the packages. Michael and Lily are in the backyard if you want to say hello. Patricia paused, placing a hand on Emma's arm. Actually, I wanted a moment with you first. Her expression grew serious. Robert and I were talking last night about how different Michael is since you came into his life. How much happier. How much more himself. Emma blinked, surprised by the sudden emotion in her future mother-in-law's voice. After Sarah left, he was functioning. Taking care of Lily, going to work, doing what needed to be done. But there was a light missing in him. You brought that back. Patricia's eyes grew misty. I just wanted you to know how grateful we are for that. For you. Before Emma could respond, the back door burst open and Lily came barreling in, her curls bouncing and her face alight with excitement. Grandma. Grandpa, she exclaimed, launching herself at her grandparents. You're early. Did you see the decorations? Daddy let me pick the colors. It's a mermaid dolphin princess theme. As Lily dragged her grandparents toward the backyard, chattering a mile a minute, Michael appeared in the doorway. His eyes met Emma's across the room, filled with warmth and understanding. He crossed to her, wrapping his arms around her waist from behind and resting his chin on her shoulder. Everything okay? He murmured. Emma leaned back against him, feeling the solid strength of his presence. Everything's perfect. Lily's friends will be here soon. You ready for a house full of 8-year-olds hopped up on cupcakes? Emma laughed. As ready as I'll ever be. Michael turned her gently to face him, his expression growing serious. Thank you for this. For all of it. For making our house a home. For loving Lily. For loving me. Emma reached up to touch his face, tracing the familiar lines of his jaw. Thank you for staying. For seeing me, really seeing me, when I couldn't see myself. Always, Michael promised, placing a gentle kiss on her forehead. The doorbell rang again, heralding the arrival of the first party guests. Soon the house would be filled with the chaos of children's laughter, games, and celebration. But in this moment, standing in the kitchen with the man who had refused to let her believe she was unlovable, Emma felt something she had once thought lost forever, a sense of belonging. Of home. Her scars hadn't disappeared. They never would. But they had faded into just one part of her story, not the defining chapter she had once believed them to be. Outside, Lily called for them both, her voice carrying through the open window. Daddy. Mom. Come see. Grandpa brought bubbles. Mom. The words still caught Emma by surprise sometimes, filling her heart in ways she couldn't have imagined. She had once believed that her inability to bear children meant she would never know the joy of motherhood. But life, she was learning, had a way of offering unexpected paths to the destinations that mattered most. Michael took her hand, his fingers intertwining with hers. Shall we? Emma nodded, squeezing his hand. Let's go. Together, they stepped out into the sunshine, toward the sound of Lily's laughter and the future they were building, one day, one moment, one act of love at a time. If this story touched your heart, please don't forget to like and subscribe. Real love isn't about finding someone perfect, it's about finding someone who sees your imperfections and chooses you anyway. Share this video with someone who needs to be reminded that their scars, whatever they may be, don't make them any less worthy of love.